but not to let you be aware of my fear. Never know what you'll find. Don't understand your kind.
Buttar, hein? Well, they say I should approach you with caution, but not to let you be aware of my fear. Never know what you'll find. Don't understand your kind round here. Watching your moves, they look so radical. Hearing your words, they sound fanatical. Something inside reveals you're magical. Oh, how can I get enough? You're a strange animal, that's what I know. But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. They've been trying to stick a line in your system, analyzing the defenses you hold, trying to open wide, hoping to step inside your soul. But everything here is unfamiliar. Nothing you've seen remotely similar. How can it be you're so peculiar? Oh, how can I get enough? You're a strange animal, that's what I know. But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Whoa. I got to follow. I got to follow.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Squatch Talk. I'm Pat. Did that intro play out to you guys? Hold on. Let me put it on chat. Sorry. What's up, everybody? How you doing tonight? Hello, chat. Mr. Lee 3PO is here. He's the reason why I'm doing this show tonight. And I'll get to that in a second. But technical question, if I could get some answers in chat, please, real quick. Did that intro play out? Did it play out? And the panels here, the panels in chat where they should be. They should be in chat. Just kidding. We will probably see some panel members tonight, I'm thinking. All right. So it did. I don't know. I had a little technical issue there. So what's up, everybody? Yeah, so I mentioned in chat Mr. Lee 3PO. So I was on a show the other night, Sunday night, and 3PO was in chat. That's what I'm going to call you, dude. It was on a loop. He was in chat, and he kept bringing up my bird story, my gargoyle bird story. And I kept seeing it, but, we were having all this discussion and stuff. And the host never pulled it up or asked me about it. And so at the end of the show, again, 3PO brought it up. And I guess he had seen that. So I've told this story on another channel one time because it was being talked about, strange bird things. And so I jumped in and talked about my story. And at the end of that show the other night, we had been on a couple of hours and we were wrapping it up. I was like, I don't have time, so I'll do this. I promised him personally, 3PO, that I would do this show tonight right here on the channel. And I was like, come on over, dude, and I'll do it there. And here we are. So that's why I'm talking about this weird bird gargoyle thing I saw one night. And yeah. So we'll kind of jump into that, I think. Basically, this. Just a little bit of backstory, not much. This happened in Augusta, Georgia, where I grew up. And it happened at the house where I grew up. But, about 15 years ago, ballpark, I don't remember the exact year. It was roughly 15 years ago. It could have been 16 or 17 years ago. It was in the early 2000s, that's for sure. But it happened at the house that I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, which is where I grew up. And at the time, I was doing a remodel on a house in Augusta. I was based out of Atlanta. I had moved to Atlanta 10 years before that, but my buddy wanted to remodel a house in Augusta. And so I went there to do that job. And it just so happened that the house I grew up in, my parents had moved out of it. They were about to put it on the market. They moved, 20, 30 miles away to their, sort of their retirement home, where not a retirement home, where they wanted to, spend the rest of their years. They're still there now. And so the house I grew up in was about to go on the market. So I had a place to stay. That was just my house, while I was doing this remodel, which took us a while to do. But regardless, that's the time frame. That's the location. And so here I am at, the house I grew up in pretty much my whole life, man, my first half of my life, to being a young adult and then moving to Atlanta. I was there. And so what I did was, the house was about to go on the market, dude. I couldn't smoke in the house. I never could. I'm a back porch guy anyway. So I'm hanging out in the back porch of where I'm staying at the house I grew up in. And basically, man, I'm just sitting there hanging out on the back porch. I would go back there and listen to music. Oh, by the way, no drugs are involved in this story. So no psychotropics at all. Zero. I don't do drugs. I don't like psychotropics. So that's not a thing with me to this day. Back then, to this day, like I don't smoke pot. I don't do mushrooms. No psychotropics for Pat Turner, man. No way. So, I may have been drinking, but contrary to popular belief, alcohol does not make you hallucinate. So I'm sitting on the back porch. Pretty sure I was listening to music, but I'm not 100% on that. Some of my, no, Leon, I do not do psychotropics. I in fact, hate them. I know pot is a harmless drug, relatively speaking, but it is not for me. Anyway, I can't remember if I was listening to music or not. I think I was, because that's usually what I would do. Sit on the back porch and just, chill out for a couple hours and at night and just lose myself in music, maybe have a drink, and it was like my pattern back then for sure. Still is sometimes. And so what happened was I'm sitting there just doing my thing. I'm probably a little bit lost in myself at the time, my own thoughts or whatever. And so it was a back porch facing a creek. And there was a tree line. There's some woods off this way to my left. And of course, the neighbor's house right next, and the neighbor's house right over here too. And then a small wood line over here in between this side, maybe 4 or 5 trees deep, maybe 20 trees or something like that. But the neighbor over here had a light on the back of his house that pointed out sort of towards my yard, but mostly to the wood line. And I'm just sitting there doing my thing. And all of a sudden, like, I just catch movement. Let's see if I can frame this properly. I catch movement out coming from out of the side of the house, this side of the house, in between the two houses, in the air, and it hit that light. It hit that light on the neighbor's house, and that movement just caught my eye. For whatever reason. I mean, it didn't belong there. There shouldn't be movement there. This is late at night, like 11-ish or so, maybe midnight. Nothing should be up in the air coming through there. And so it definitely caught my eye, and I looked up and I saw it. I saw it briefly just before it hit shadow. So as it caught my attention, I focused my attention on it. It happened pretty quick. And the only way I could describe what happened next was this thing's in the light very briefly as I'm turning to see what it is. But as I focus on it, it did a radical maneuver. Like, I'd say like nothing I've ever seen any kind of bird do, but maybe. I can only describe it as radical. I mean, it like folded up like this and kind of like did this weird shape. And I'm already looking at this damn thing going, what is that? Not, oh, cool, an owl. Like it's already like in the 2 seconds probably that it took to get to this point, I'm already concerned. Why? I don't know. but it made this radical, weird maneuver and then got out of that light. Now I could still see it. There was enough ambient light. There was enough light, and I've been sitting outside a long time, so I didn't have any lights like in my face while it was pretty dark back there, but there was ambient light. So my eyes had adjusted to the light, and despite these readers you see on, I have really good eyesight. Especially back then, this was 15. My eyesight was even better. And this thing just swooped down, opened up its wings, and did a perfect butter smooth glide right in front of me. And now I'm up on a deck, but I'm only maybe where my eye line is maybe 10 feet off the ground, 12 at the most. So this thing was maybe ballpark 4 feet off the ground. So it went down some to get in that gliding position. So it did, it gained some energy by wrapping itself up and changing direction real quick in a way that was very strange looking. And it got out of that heavy light source that was over there, and then into shadow, but I could see pretty well, and just swooped right in front of me. And all I could say, it didn't have feathers. Like, I saw it. Now, I didn't see it like broad daylight. It wasn't that kind of visual. It was only, man, it couldn't have been more than 15 feet in front of me. It may have been closer. And at this point, I'm standing up. I'm standing up. My attention, like I'm very, very focused on this thing, and I'm standing up, looking at it. If I was listening to music, the headphones they're 3 feet behind me on the porch, man. It was very alarming, very alarming. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, holy shit, it doesn't have any feathers. Like I'm not looking at an owl, which is pretty much the only thing that size that would be flying around at night. And this thing was bigger than an owl. I would say it's somewhere in between an owl, the size of an owl, and a bald eagle. So it wasn't as big as a bald eagle, but it was way bigger than an owl. And it didn't have any feathers. Like, that's just what I saw, it just did not have any feathers. Now, the rest of it had some kind of head. So it didn't have the, pointy, pterosaur head. It didn't have like any kind of pointy pterosaur head. I would have definitely noticed that, It didn't have that, but it had some kind of head. It didn't have a long tail. So it didn't have like the long, devilish looking tail that you see in artwork and things like that. I don't remember seeing much coming out of the back of it. Like it happened pretty quick. This thing went down. I mean, it glided so butter smooth. Its wings were just open. So yeah, I didn't see it flapping. I didn't see it using energy to move at that point. Again, it was at a higher elevation when it came into the light. And then it went down some into about 4 foot off the ground and just did this butter smooth, and all of this happened like across the backyard, so maybe over, 40 feet, something like that. And it did right in front of me, again, like 15 feet in front of me. I had high position on it. And so it crossed right in front of me where I could see down onto it. So I was actually above it. For something in the air, it was a really good view of something in the air because I'm above it by a good 10 feet. And I didn't see any feathers, man. Like it looked like skin, and it looked like gray skin. I hate to say that, dude, like, because I'm like, that's weird, you know? And its wingspan, again, like 3PO, like, so it was somewhere in between the size of an owl or a hawk and a bald eagle. So bald eagle, man, is like, 6-7 feet, about like our arms. They have a huge wingspan. It wasn't that big, but it was bigger than a hawk's wingspan, and shaped differently. So like in my head, when I recall what I saw that night, I'm seeing a different shape to the wings. Now I know there's some weird bats. Like there's a big bat, like I can't remember what it's called, horse face bat or something. It's pretty big. Maybe it was one of those. Like, I didn't even find out about those things until like relatively recently. So at this point, like a known animal, like that's, to me, like that would be a good candidate. But anyway, I saw it, and then it disappeared into the shadow of the tree line. So I wasn't getting a good silhouette. I wasn't getting good ambient light on it anymore. And that small tree line that's over here, it just disappeared into it. And I stood there looking, like, because I'm like, I still wanted to see it. I wanted to see it more. I wanted to see it better. Like, I'm super interested in what I'm looking at here. Hammerhead bat. I think you're right. 3PO. And it just disappeared into that tree line. I never saw it again after that, but I wanted to. I was trying to. I was looking, did it flare up and perch on the fence? Did it flare up and perch on one of the trees? Like, I'm looking for some kind of silhouette or sign of this thing, or even trying to look through the trees to see if it's still gliding through the next yard. And nothing. I saw nothing. But I'll tell you this. What happened next was I got scared. I was afraid. So once I like realized, oh, okay, I can't see it. Like, I can't see it. I immediately went into, oh shit, I'm going inside. Fuck this. I'm out of here. Like, boom. I can't see it anymore. Did it turn around? Is it going to come back? Is it going to fucking attack my head? Like, I was afraid, and I went inside and locked the door, and I didn't go back out on that porch anymore that night. I took my ass upstairs and went to bed or something, or, I'm sure I pondered it for a minute. But after I lost sight of it and, briefly attempted to, try and see if I could, track it. As soon as I realized, I can't see this thing anymore, I got scared. And for good reason. It looked like it had no feathers on it. I mean, it looked like a freaking gargoyle. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. Again, I didn't see a creepy gargoyle face, and I didn't see some pointy tail, but I saw a featherless thing in flight right in front of my face that was way bigger than any bat that should be in Georgia. Maybe it was that, what is it called again? I've forgotten already. Sorry, my mind's stuck back in Augusta, 15 years ago. Um, I don't know. It. My first thought is, what is this damn thing doing in my neighborhood? It doesn't belong here. Like, I guess, once I got inside and got out of the, the mode of trying to track it and look at it, my first thought was, what the hell is that doing here? This is a neighborhood. Like, I wasn't even thinking the world. I was thinking, this is a neighborhood, man. Like, I grew up here. I played on these streets. This is a neighborhood. People live. Like, what the hell is something like that doing flying around here? You think you'd see them all the time. Like, what the fuck is that? Why is it here? It was one of those things, similar to like like when people see a Bigfoot, they say shit like that, right? But that's pretty much that story. I mean, that's it happened real quick. And once I lost track of it and I realized I wasn't going to get another glimpse, man, I ran inside, locked the door, like, to lock the door because I saw something flying through the air. That's true fear. I mean, I'd probably lock the door anyway, but I did it in that, like, not as if somebody was chasing me, but with urgency. It's urgent that I freaking lock this door. And then that was it, dude. I never told anybody about it, except maybe Ernie at some point. Because I didn't know what to make of it, man. I mean, what am I going to tell people? Hey, I saw a gargoyle. That's the best word I can come up to describe it. I don't know, man. I just chalked it up to, well, that happened and moved on. This was way before I had anything to do with the Bigfoot world. Way before. So that's it. That's my flying bird story. And that is it. Like, I don't have an explanation for what I saw. I know I didn't see an owl. I know that an owl didn't come, flying in front of me at night, 15 feet in front of me and scare me. I've seen owls before doing their thing, So, God. Oh, and by the way, yeah, some of the guys might jump in here later or in a few. But yeah, that's it. That's it. I mean, that's the end of that story. I don't know what I saw that night. Maybe it was one of those stupid bats, whatever they're called. I've already forgotten again. I'll tell you this. No, something else I forgot. The feeling I got, I think it was one of the first things that started making me concerned before I ever really saw it. I felt if I felt, it was my interpretation of it, its movement at first, it was busted. Not kidding. Like, oh shit, I screwed up. Like, all that information somehow came into my head that it was reacting in that way. Oh shit, I screwed up. I've been spotted. Like, I can't explain that. But I'm telling you, that feeling came over me right there on that porch. This wasn't something I came up with later, looking back at it or thinking about it or pondering on it. It was almost immediate that, I could almost read its language of how it was moving, that it knew it screwed up and it was correcting that. No, my parent, man, like Donald asked, did you ever ask your parents if they saw it? No, and they wouldn't have, and even if they would have, they never ever talk about it. My parents aren't like that. They think I'm nuts with the Bigfoot stuff. They just think it's silly, you know. So, and that's fine. I don't care. I had no sense that it looked at me. No, and I did not see eyes. Um, in fact, I couldn't even if I had to draw the damn thing, it would mostly be the wings and the body. Like I couldn't describe the head to you very well. I know there was a head there, but you know, I couldn't describe the head. All I know is that it wasn't a pterosaur head. So it wasn't the pointy beak with the, that goes from here to there, like I would have seen that, if it was anything like that, I definitely would have seen that signature kind of, pterosaur look that I would have been very familiar with, kid dinosaurs, what the pterodactyls look like and things like that. So yeah, that was the only thing I forgot to add is that, like, for whatever reason, I understood that it fucked up, and I didn't see anything coming off the back of it. I didn't see a tail coming off the back. I didn't see legs sticking out. I don't remember that. I just remember I was so focused on the damn wing because it didn't have fucking feathers on it. Like like the back and the wing, like I'm just like in awe of this thing for the, all of what, maybe 2 seconds. It was gliding pretty fast. I was in awe that it didn't have feathers. Like I'm like, and it never flapped its wings, so it was on a perfect linear path, 4 feet off the ground, and straight into the darkness of the tree line. Which I don't know how it navigated. I mean, it wasn't super thick, but I mean, it wasn't just 4 trees. I mean, it was 20 trees with vegetation. I mean, and it just disappeared into that, and I was just so focused on its the fact that it just looked like something flying around with no feathers on it, And yes, I used to play with bats in Georgia. I mean, they're like this big. They're not much bigger than swallows. Jeez. God. Okay. Pax is wait. If you're talking to me, Patrick, then Pax is not the proper terminology for things in the air. It would be a gaggle, I believe. I don't know. Probably about 40 years, I would imagine. And so, yeah, look, I know, big things, there are big birds, man. Like I see blue heron. I live here. I live on Lake Lanier, and I see blue heron all the time. They have like a 10-foot wingspan. They look like pterodactyls, man. They are so big, and they have those long, pointy beaks. I mean, they're amazing birds. They're so big, bigger than a bald eagle. And I've got bald eagles up here too, and they're huge, man. They have like 7-foot wingspans. Do they use fire, dude? Just stop. So I know what big birds look like. And I did back then too. Like I've been down to the river and seen cranes before. Like, no, this thing was not a pterodactyl. So it didn't, did I see any orbs? No, this thing wasn't a pterodactyl. Again, like if it would have had a head like a pterodactyl or a pterosaur, I would have noticed that. because they're, they have really long, elongated, sharp, pointed heads. And there's no way I would have missed that. And no, I did not see any orbs that night, 3PO. No. The only thing weird that happened that night was what I just told you guys. What appeared to be something flying through the air that did not have feathers. And yeah. So that happened. That's my bird story. And I have no explanation for it other than one of those weird bats that shouldn't be in Georgia, but whatever, right? And I don't even know. I'm not sure. I know those are really big bats. Again, I forget the name. I've already forgotten the name. And they're big and they're funny looking. They have a big kind of head. Yeah, it's whatever supposedly what the Jersey Devil is supposed to be. Somebody said it earlier. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I don't know exactly how big those things are, but telling you the wingspan of what I saw was bigger than a hawk, but smaller than a bald eagle. So it somewhere in between. It was pretty long wingspan. Anyway, that's my weird bird story. So now I'll switch gears into a different story that happened last year, last May, where I got attacked by lights. Hammerhead bat, thank you. So hammerhead bat, I'm gonna have to pull that up here in a minute. But I'll go ahead and tell this other story where I got attacked by lights, and this story complements the gargoyle bird story pretty well, actually. So it was last May, not this past May, but like a year ago, May. We had unusually cool weekend hit. Usually I don't go camping in May. And because I don't do summer camps, I don't like camping in the summer. I'll camp fall through the winter. It doesn't bother me. Love it. In early spring. But once May comes, usually I'm done. But this was an unusually cool weekend, temperature wise, in that May. And so we decided to go camping that weekend. It was temperatures were going to get down into the 50s. And it's great, man. Perfect. So we go out there and we set up camp, me and Kim, and we've got the dogs with us, and we set up camp. And this is probably about 200 yards away from where I've had my Sasquatch encounters happen. My wood knock encounter and the scream thing. So it's the same property. And that stuff's always in the back of my head. But it's 200 yards away from that campsite. And it's a cool little campsite right by a creek. And so we set up there. And so my buddy Ernie, he's got his cabin down there deep at the end of the property, probably about 300 yards away, maybe a little further. And he comes up to hang out with us, and we all hang out. We're having fun, talking shit, talk to a little Squatch, whatever. And then he takes off and goes back to his cabin. So he's not too far away from me. And again, I'm not participating in any psychotropics at all. Um, I got my drink, get my campfire. I'm happy. Well, anyway, some point during the night, it's getting a little late. It's, it's probably like 10, maybe 11, something like that. And so I stepped away from the campfire to relieve myself. So I step out towards the creek, and out in front of me, there's, there's some terrain. It's not huge ridge tops. It's like, small, very small ridge top kind of terrain. The kind of stuff you could walk up, and then, the creek's right here. So then a little bit of valley, and I'm looking off this direction more towards the ridge, somewhere in between the ridge and the creek valley. And, no, nope, that's not a thing. It's not a thing. That's not a thing. And doing my thing, and I start to notice lights out, sort of up in the terrain, out in the woods. White lights. And I'm like, oh shit, you got to be kidding me. And so I'm looking at these things, and I'm just starting to get hyper focused real fast, because they shouldn't be there, and I'm like, there shouldn't be any lights out there. And is that people? And nope, because it's like this. There's like sort of a bunch of them. They look like Christmas lights, almost like white Christmas lights out in the woods. Maybe, a couple 100 yards away, in that ballpark, right? And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm hyper focusing on these lights. And then a voice in my head starts trying to talk to me. My brain, as I'm hyper focusing on these lights, my brain's trying to tell me something. And I just went like this, because I wanted to keep my eye on what I was seeing. And I'm seeing these lights, and there's movement. And all of a sudden, my interpretation of this movement is, it's movement, and it's getting closer. It's coming this way, right for me. Those damn lights they're out there, and they're coming this way for me, towards me. Well, at this point, I'm hyper focused on the lights, but another part of my brain kicks in, is, alert. And I say, Kim, come here. Come here. So I've been staring at these lights for at least 10 seconds, maybe more, because I cannot take my eyes off them. I don't want to take my eyes off them. I want to keep them right in my visual line of sight. I'm starting to interpret them moving towards me. No way, man. So Kim comes over, and I think I was already crouched down at this point. I felt the need to take cover. I don't know why. And Kim comes, and we're crouched down together, and we're whispering. I don't know why. Who cares? But we're whispering. I'm like, look. And she sees it too. So now I'm not crazy, right? I'm not hallucinating. This is validation. And I'm like, I don't know. There's lights. And we're talking about it back and forth. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. But listen, I was like, get the dogs. I'm whispering now. Get the dogs. Get the dogs. Get them ready. If those lights hit the other shore, so there's a creek in between me and these stupid lights. And I'm like, I'm already thinking, man, like those lights are going to be right here on the other side of this creek in about a minute or two, right? Something like that. And just, what's up, dude? Thanks for tuning in, Jesse. Finally, I see you in chat, bro. Sorry. So these lights are coming towards me. I see there's movement, and it keeps changing. So I'm not I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at, but I'm looking at freaking lights moving through the woods towards me. And my mind's racing. Again, I hyper focused. Like a sniper, dude. Like a sniper. And and so I tell Kim, go get the dogs. Get ready, because if those lights hit the shore on the other side of this creek, if they get that close, we're out of here. And I meant it, man. I don't want to deal with lights, What if there's some Sasquatch walking around in the lights, and I don't know, man, right? Like the lights and the Sasquatch, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. This is a thing. This is a freaking thing. People talk about this stuff. So I tell Kim to do that. And so she does. She leaves my side. She goes to get the dogs, and she's getting ready for us to get in the truck, which is just right there at camp, and we're gonna bail, man. And then I think, for whatever reason, I'm like, man, I gotta tell Ernie about this. So I call Ernie, and I'm not taking my eyes off these lights, but I'm calling Ernie. He picks up the phone. I'm like, dude, there's lights out in the woods. He's like, huh? I'm like, dude, there's lights out in the woods. And he's still like, dude, what are you talking about? Are you saying there's people out there? And I'm like, no, it's the thing. Like people say, like the lights, dude. Like how people talk about the lights in the woods. It's happening to me right now. And he's still kind of like, huh? I'm like, dude, you got to come check this out. Because I'm thinking, like, I want Ernie there. I want him to see this too, And I swear, he was just like, all right. Like, I mean, he wasn't getting what I was saying. But he knew that he had a sort of hysterical Pat on the phone saying, dude, gotta come down here right and check this out. And so he was kind of reluctant, but he's like, all right, man, I'll be down there in a minute. Like he was going to get in his truck and drive down. And I didn't think about his safety. Like it was like at all, dude, because like, the lights are over here and he has kind of come this way, like almost past them. But I just didn't know what to do, man. I wanted Ernie there, and they were white. They were white lights, and they kept like there was movement, like and like so, and then like some of the lights would disappear, and then others would appear. So it was like this grouping of white Christmas lights, that just kept changing. It was movement, and again, I'm in. Yeah, Nikki. And that's what I was seeing, these white lights coming towards me that I can't explain because they're up in this terrain, sort of. They're in the area of the woods that nothing should be. I know it's not people. Like at this point, there's no way it's people, and it wasn't people. It was not people. But here they come. Here come the lights. So now I've called Ernie, and all right, so now I got some backup coming. Even though I just made a plan to evacuate, then I call Ernie and tell him to come. And I don't know what I was thinking there, but no matter what, dude, when these lights get to the other end of the creek, the opposite shore of the creek, That's it. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I'm fascinated looking at what I'm looking at, but you know, you get close. I thought about shooting. I thought about shooting. Like, I don't know why. They're lights, right? I don't know. Anyway, also never really thought to pull out my phone. Not that I remember. But so I'm focused on these lights. I'm hyper focused on these lights. And that part of my brain that was talking to me at the very beginning of all this, that I went like that, it starts talking to me again. And now it's screaming at me. So now this other part of the brain that I had shunned earlier, you know, voice in my head kind of thing, telling me, screaming at me, to the point where I have to start paying attention to it, even though I'm not taking my eyes off these lights. That ain't going to happen. And that part of the brain I finally start listening to says, step to your left. Take 7 steps to your left. And so I did. So this point, I'm listening to what my brain that I shunned earlier is telling me, because I feel like I think I need to listen to this. And so I take those 7 steps to the left, and bam, there it was. It's clear as daylight. Because it was daylight. Bouncing off the fucking moon. I had been looking at the moon rising through the trees, like the low horizon of the trees, the whole time. That's what the lights were. Now, I'm not used to being out in the woods when the canopy's up at night. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, you know. But in the middle of winter, I would have seen that it was the moon the whole time. Like, but with the leaves up, it was all that moonlight just glint, like as the moon's rising, you know, glinting through 50,000, you know, little holes through the canopy. And I wasn't looking up. I was disoriented. I thought I was looking more up towards the terrain. I was actually looking straight down the creek valley the whole time. You know how you get disoriented with a campfire? Like you might step away and you think you're like on the other side of the camp with your fire and you're like, oh, wow. Like you just get disoriented. I got a little disoriented off by, you know, maybe 20 degrees. And looking straight down the valley, the moon comes rising up through the canopy. And that's the lights I was seeing. So it was the moon. It scared, it concerned me enough to say, get the dogs, we're going to get the hell out of here. So that's my other story, which, like I said, complements the bird story because, well, there was a solution to this. The lights attacking me, the lights coming for me. And needless to say, as soon as I took those 7 steps and I saw that it was the damn moon, I picked up the phone, called Ernie. I was like, never mind, dude, sorry. You don't have to come down here. You know, and he got to hear the whole, you know, he got to hear the whole story the next day. So yeah, man. I mean, the moon freaked me out coming up through the trees. So, like, that's a thing too. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I saw that night with the gargoyle thing. You know, maybe that was like a moon thing too, man. Like maybe that was something like that. I just haven't figured it out yet. But thank God I figured out the light thing when I did, you know, because I'd hate to tell that story without the punchline at the end, right? That, oh, it was just the moon. And it was funny. I mean, I laughed my ass off about it. I think we all did. And Is that what? Hold on. Sorry, I'm doing production. So there you go. There's my two stories. I had some other ones. Like I have another story that's kind of like the moon thing. It's like something I had to figure out, and I did. But yeah. But the flying gargoyle bird thing, that was weird. Like that really freaked me out, and to this day, I just don't have a good explanation for it. Not saying I couldn't have, misinterpreted what I was seeing. I could have. It's possible. But it freaked me out. So anyway, that's kind of it for the encounter story time. I did not mean for that to go on for almost an hour, actually. But right, so I don't drink much moonshine, but again, alcohol really doesn't make you hallucinate. Contrary to popular belief, right? Alcohol could turn a 5 into a 10, that kind of thing. No, it's just judgment. It's just your freaking judgment, dude. You're not hallucinating a 5 into a 10. Which one, Robert? The bird was when I saw the hairless bird gargoyle thing, that was in Augusta, Georgia. In the middle of a freaking neighborhood, like on the outskirts of a neighborhood, not in the middle, but yeah, that's where that happened. But yeah, so 3PO, I'm guessing you had heard that story before, because not many people know about that story. Just anybody that watched Hidden Existence that night, or it wasn't Hidden, it was Anything Goes. Because Jason has seen what he describes as something as a like very pterosaur like. He saw it during the day, so I just felt compelled to jump on that show that night and tell my story. Like finally. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Jesse. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's where you heard it. Cool. No, there wasn't. See, now it's the wings. So there, I didn't see anything humanoid about it. And again, its size was. Well, I guess some gargoyles are depicted, as way smaller than humans. Like the size of a dog with wings. But it was the damn wings, man, and the fact that it didn't have feathers. So that's, I guess that's the only thing I had to fall back on was, something with wings like that doesn't have feathers, skin, gargoyle, I certainly wasn't thinking bat. Because again, man, the bats are, this big, man, in Georgia, like, if that, they're about the size of swallows, not much bigger. This thing was bigger than a hawk. So I don't know, man. I don't know what it was. I'll never know. I can never go back to the. I can never figure that out. Come on. Oh, Jesse. Yes. You're so funny. Lots of humor. I'm glad everybody can have a good laugh at my expense. That's fine. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Their pet fox bat. So now you guys are saying foxbat. What is that? What was the other one? Hammerhead or something? I don't- wow, damn, they are kind of big, aren't they? Ooh, holy cow! Yeah, sure. This is a candidate. Um, wow. Like, yeah, that's about the size I described, isn't it? Hmm. It's pretty big. But, I mean, how do they, I don't know, how does a foxbat fly? You know, like what's, what kind of glide ratio does it have? I don't see, uh, I don't see, bats glide a whole lot. Like very, very briefly. I mean, they do quick flutters and then they'll glide for a second, but so, well, you know something about foxbats, Jesse? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a damn good candidate. I could definitely see that this thing flying in front of me and me interpreting as, man, this didn't have feathers because look at it. It doesn't, you know? Hmm. But what the hell is that thing doing in Augusta, Georgia? I'm sure I mean, I know we don't have native foxbats. So, I don't know. Mm. I don't know, guys. Gals. All right, so yeah, let me do the hammerhead thing. Oh wow, first thing that. Oh god, yeah, that thing's funny looking. Jeez. Wow, that thing looks real primitive, man. That's crazy. Huh. But again, what the hell is it doing? It's pretty big. It's definitely gargoyle looking. Um, damn, that thing's big. His head's bigger than that guy's hand. Um, huh. I don't know. Kind of weird. Definitely scary looking. His face does not look like a bat at all. Uh, I don't know. For what? Which bat? Wingspan 27 inches. Which bat is that for? Praying? It's 27 inches. It's like a little over 2 feet. It's not super big. The mythical dog bat. Um, What the hell's a dog bat? For the hammerhead. All right, so hammerheads aren't that big, I guess. Right, and so yeah, hammerhead's African bat. I mean, it doesn't belong in Georgia, and some escaped exotic pet I saw that night. Maybe. Dude, I wasn't frightened until afterwards. I was concerned. What I was seeing. The fright didn't come until afterwards, but I guess that could scramble your memory of it somehow. Like, I don't know. All I know is that I saw something weird. I mean, it didn't appear to have feathers. Like, I say appear. The damn thing did not have feathers. I saw it that good. I saw it enough to see it didn't have feathers. And, again, like, who gets... If an owl comes, swooping around and flying around you at night, I mean, is that scary? Should that frighten you? No. Definitely not. I've seen owls at night. Frighten me. Flying squirrel is like... It wasn't a flying squirrel. And flying squirrels don't fly like that, man. They jump out of the tops of trees and just kind of, to the next tree. It's like a wingsuit kind of thing. It's not wings. Flying squirrels don't have wings. They have like the wingsuit webbing. And they're like that big. Well, I mean, did I hallucinate? I don't think so. To me, a hallucination requires some kind of stimulus, like something else. Like, you hallucinate when you take psychotropics. That you have hallucinations. I don't know. Flying squirrels kind of do the wingsuit thing. Anyway, I don't know. I threw the link out to the guys. I don't know if anybody's coming in. Or Leon's. Oh, I guess Leon had to leave for a minute. You missed the whole story, Leon. I shot at the lights, and my rounds landed true on a Bigfoot. I killed him and dragged him into town and blew the lid wide open on this whole mystery. All right. Leon is here. I'm going to bring him in. Let's have some fun.
1 second.
Hey, bud.
I listened to all of it.
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, that showed me lots of data about your history and how your primal folders work. Which one do you want to do first?
Whatever. I mean, you heard the moon story, right? Though the complimentary story, right?
Oh, actually, no, I didn't hear the moon story. I'm sorry.
That's, okay.
But you want to fill me?
Okay, that's fine. I'll give you the lowdown. Is that I saw lights moving through the trees.
Oh yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be the moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So that's why I say it was a complimentary story to the other one. You know.
How did you find that out? Just quickly.
That it was the moon?
Yes.
I finally changed my position and actually saw the moon instead of seeing it come through the canopy or sparkling through the canopy all weird, you know?
Okay.
Basically,
nice.
yeah. That's
good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I'm glad you did that because I had to go buzz down to the store and back, and I thought, which of the two stories am I going to ask him? Yeah, when I talk to him. So that solves that
Right.
mystery. All right,
exactly. Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity to show people how to help somebody remember things. So I'm assuming that's what, because I know the rest of the guys want me to put you on the hot seat. And so we're going to do a couple of things. You open to that, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I need you to do one thing for me, though, Pat. I need you to take your glasses off for me.
Okay.
Because the good thing about it, too, is you'll be more in your eyes mind of the
Mhm.
event instead of trying to look at me and talk to me.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I just want to ask you a couple of questions. You were sitting, so we're talking about the first incident with the last of the Mohican Eagles / Condor / Bats / Flying Squirrel incident. Were you at so that was 15 years ago?
Yeah, roughly. That's the ballpark. I can't remember the exact year.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So you're roughly 28 to 35, or what age were you?
Yeah, I would have been in my early 30s.
Okay, and
sure.
was it where you were living at specifically?
I grew up in that house.
Okay, so that's your parents' house.
Yeah, I grew up. I spent shoot. I grew up in that house. I spent 15 years in that house.
Okay,
And
say in a week, how often would you go out onto the porch?
a lot. I had to go out there to smoke. And so at the time, I don't know if you caught this part of it or not. I just happened to be working a job in Augusta at the time. I was still based out of Atlanta. I had made Atlanta my home. And Augusta is about 120 miles away from Atlanta. Just so everybody knows. I know not everybody lives in Georgia. And so I was working on a house with my buddy in Augusta, and my parents had moved to their sort of where they were going to settle down. So they had moved out of that house. It was about to go up on the market. So I had a free place to stay all by myself there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you've been there for quite a few years. You've stood out in that porch and had a smoke.
yeah, I've spent, again, 15 years of my
Okay.
life growing up there.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna
I just
ask you-
happened to be back there.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and I'm going to ask you to slow down, and I'm going to ask you to pull yourself back a few times, okay? Because I'm going to help your brain a bit.
Sure.
Okay. How old are you with the first time you ever went out to the porch and sat on that porch?
I mean, I would have hung out at that porch at a pretty young age, around the age of 6 or so.
Okay. And when you were on that porch, what's on the porch? What do you remember being on the porch? Like, was there chairs on the porch, planters on the
Mhm.
porch,
Yeah.
bird feeders?
At one point, there was a picnic table on that porch way before this, and that was gone. That had been gone for a while. So my little setup that I had out there was I had a porch chair to sit in and a little table in front of me. So I had my ashtray there and where I could put my drink and stuff, and I would sit there. And at this point in my life, the time I was spending on that porch, which is very similar to even like going back to teenager time, I'd love to go out on the porch and listen to music. And especially when I started smoking, go out on the porch, smoke, and listen to music, and just get lost in myself. Yeah.
All right. You said there was a couple of chairs there. Is that how you had set up a couple of chairs and a table
Yeah.
and an ashtray?
At least the chair that I was sitting in.
Okay. Describe the chair to me.
I can't remember. It would have been an outdoor porch chair.
Wood, fabric, metal fabric.
Some kind of fabric, I would imagine. I'm pretty sure, like a fabric outdoor chair.
What about the table?
The table was it was smaller. And So things were bare bones at this time. You got to remember, my parents had moved out, so the stuff that was left at the house was basically just for me to be there.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Yep. Sure.
So this wasn't the same house that I grew up in as far as the way it was furnitured.
Right. Yeah.
But that little table would have been like almost like a wooden table, like almost like the kind that you could like fold up, like a lattice, sort of lattice top to it, and not a lattice, but like a small decking top to it. And you could fold it up and take it somewhere if you wanted to. You know, it was stained, wooden stained kind of. Yeah.
And what time of year was it? Spring, summer, fall?
Man,
doesn't that be right? Just just sensory wise, what do you feel it was like?
It wasn't cold outside. I think this would have been like springtime.
Okay. And it wasn't cold outside. What time was it roughly?
It would have been like later in the evening, like 11 o'clock at night, maybe midnight, in that range. Okay.
And what did you use for an ashtray?
I just had like an older ashtray, like similar to like this old school, kind of like
70s.
70s ashtray like that, which I couldn't even tell you where it came from, you know.
And were you drinking anything? Like, did you have pop or coffee?
I could have been drinking alcohol. Like I drank alcohol like sparsely back then. Like, you know, might say, oh, I want to have a drink tonight, you know, whatever, or a weekend. So I don't remember if I had alcohol in my system or not. Seems like I didn't. That's what my intuition tells me.
Okay, but you did smoke.
Yeah, I was smoking. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're sitting on the deck now on that kind of rickety old chair kind of thing. You got your 70s ashtray. You're looking, I'm assuming the house is behind you. You're looking out this direction. The ground in front of you is a little lower than where you are on the deck because you said the thing kind of flew down below you. What's in the backyard? Did you guys ever have anything in the backyard?
So a small tree line. Yeah, a small tree line and
what kind of wait, slow down. What kind of tree line? Like a hedge or kind of
the kind of tree line you'd find next to a creek. So small
willows.
Small trees, like probably more like smaller hardwoods, not like pine, not tall pines or anything like that. You know.
Did you guys ever have anything in the backyard, like a backyard done with garden or anything like that? Do you have a clothesline out in the backyard?
No.
A sump out in the backyard?
A what?
A sump? I don't know if that's what you guys call it back there.
I don't know what that is.
It's kind of a place where you would have a water tank or a sewage tank for your home.
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No.
All right. You said it was in a residential area?
Yeah, it was in a neighborhood, and this house set on the edge of that neighborhood. Thus, the tree line of the creek, a little bit of nature, kind of out there, you know.
Okay,
but there was a neighborhood, you know, another neighborhood over sort of past that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. We're going to shift gears a little bit. When did you first run into Kim?
Kim, my girlfriend?
Yeah.
Almost 2 years ago. So I'd say a few months short of 2 years.
And what did you meet her at?
We met, God, this is tough, dude, but I don't know that she'd want me saying all this publicly.
Well, you could just say you met her at a party, you met her at a mall, you met her at some.
We met online.
Okay.
As a lot of people do these days. You know?
Okay. And when you first met her and you saw her, what did you think about her?
I was like, you're real. I was like, I can't believe you're real.
Okay.
And there's a reason. There's a reason why I thought that.
No, that's okay. Did you remember the first time you kissed her?
Yeah, that night.
Okay. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you go spend the rest of the evening together, or did you go your separate ways after that?
She hasn't left She hasn't left my side since that night.
Oh, okay. All right. So the next time when you were where she wasn't around and you started reflecting on her after this first experience about her, tell me what you were thinking.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I mean, there was, there was like, we hung out for about 24 hours or so, and then she had to go. And then there was an incident, something happened to her phone, and because of her phone got messed up, we weren't in contact for 4 or 5 days, and I thought she just blew me off. You know, I was like, oh my God, like, for whatever reason, like, I don't know the reason, but man, this chick I really like this girl, and she blew me off until, you know, about 5 days later, she fixed her phone and was able to get a hold of me. And,
okay.
And yeah, so it's been like, you know, so we've been thick as thieves ever since.
Okay. I just have 3 more questions for you.
Sure.
And then I'll explain what I just did there for people who are watching.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a Walmart or a Superstore close to your house?
Yeah, we have a so we have a regular Walmart, like a big giant Walmart, but we also have what's called a neighborhood Walmart, which is actually where we go grocery shopping, and that's just literally a 2-minute drive down the road, and that's where we do our shopping, is at the neighborhood Walmart. Mm-hmm.
What's your most favorite place you like going to in the area that you're in?
Ooh, the mountains.
Specifically. It can be a mountain range name. It doesn't have to be that.
Either the private property, so Raven Cliffs, or the private property that's near Raven Cliffs.
Okay. And what's the biggest thing that pisses you off?
Unfairness.
Unfairness or injustice?
Unfairness and unreasonable. When people treat me unreasonably and unfairly, that's the biggest thing that pisses me off in this world.
And why? What explain the unreasonableness. Why does that agitate you the most?
Why can't people just be reasonable? I try and be reasonable with people. I think I go out of my way to be reasonable. I'll put my emotions aside to be reasonable. So I don't like it when it's not reciprocated.
Okay.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
I'm just going to ask you 2 more questions. Have you ever lied to somebody close?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever let down somebody really close to you?
Yeah, many times.
Okay.
Different people, several times. Like, I mean, that's a part of my life.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Pat. That's good.
Mm.
So for people watching in the chat, later on, you can go back and watch this all over again. And what you're looking for is, you'll notice I asked Pat a variety of questions. I asked him 3 types of questions. And every time I asked him a question, I waited to see which way his eyes went. So I asked him about general history,
Right.
about where he grew up and stuff. And you can see where he's going back into seeing the object on the porch compared to him trying to think about what was on the porch. So that's when you're wondering, what the hell's this guy doing? What I need to do first is find his baseline. So that goes back into his memory system of reminding stuff. Why? Because he's talking about seeing something that's kind of wild and bizarre. So it helps me see how he also thinks, if he's a feeler or analytical thinker. The other part I asked him about was personal stuff. I'm also looking for his blink rate. And I'm also looking for stuff he knows that he loves around the area. So that's going to tell, it tells me lots of data just by asking those 20 questions or so. And the other thing I'm doing is, you probably don't see this, but on my page, you'll see those little lines with the little black dots. You can do this with yourself, and you can practice this at home. Do 2 straight lines in columns all the way down, just little ones about this big. That represents a person's eyes. The little black dots, when you ask a question, when they answer the question, mark the black dots. So say you said to me, hey, Leon, where are you from? And I went, well, I'm from, see how my eyes went up that way? They went up that way. 2 dots above the line on the right side of the line. Or sorry, it'd be the left side from your viewer's perspective. And when you do that, you'll start being able to see where they collect their data from and how they collect their data. If you notice when you guys play this back, you're going to notice Pat looks above from this section here up and over. He's always looking back up this way, back up that way, or straight up this way when he's reflecting on certain things. Other people will look down this way or this way. If it's auditorial sounds, they're recalling a memory of they heard someone say something, their eyes are going to go straight. They're either going to be hearing it or fabricating it. So let's go on with your encounter now, if you don't mind. So you were saying that
do I have to take these back off?
No, yeah, that's fine. No, you can keep those on.
Okay, all right.
Now's data collecting. So when you first saw it, so you're sitting there on the bloody porch, and you're sitting there on the bloody porch. You were, I don't know, running through the day, thinking about some shit or whatever like that. You saw something over, and you said on your, I think it was your side, which is this side, I think.
Yeah, so it would be over here. Like, so the way StreamYard is set up, it's like the audience, you're looking at me like as if I was standing in a room with you right now, telling you it's over here, guys. Yeah. So I'm just going to stick to where it was in my world instead of trying to flip it around, you know.
Yeah,
like
and you said there was a neighbor to that side as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
It flew between your neighbor's place and that. Now, is that a normal residential distance in a house, or are you guys farther apart? Like where I'm at, I've got kind of acreages, but they're kind of spread out pretty far.
No, yes, this was a suburb, a neighborhood built in the 70s in Georgia. So that the houses are, 20 feet apart, maybe 25 feet apart, maybe a little bit more. But
Great.
Yeah, it's not rural. It's suburban.
Did you work that day when you came out and sat on the porch, or were you off that day?
I don't remember.
Okay, no, it's okay. So you're sitting there on the porch and you're kind of debriefing yourself about some kind of day that you had. There you had a smoke, you're sitting on an rickety chair, the table's sitting there in front of you. Nothing in the back.
I would get into deep thought about life.
Okay.
Not just the day, whatever kind of day, man. Whatever was going on in my life at the time. I didn't have a woman in my life. I was a bit heartbroken, I think, at the time, actually. Still trying to get over a failed relationship. I know those things were happening in my life, and I would get lost. I'd go on that porch, man, and get lost in my own head. Deep thought. Sometimes figure some stuff out. Yeah. Kind of weird how that works, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's suggesting to me that you're psychologically vulnerable a bit. Not saying you didn't have an event or anything like that, but just meaning because of your processing that you're kind of, you get a life smack and it dazes and confuses you for a bit because you don't have your balance of what you normally might have. As you're sitting there on the deck and you're doing this deep reflection on that, and all of a sudden this thing flies by, that's kind of is it a dark gray? Is it like a ghosty figure? Is it kind of, what's it looking like to you at that point?
When I first saw it?
Just the reflection part. What's that look like? Just a quick movement and you looked and you saw something?
Yeah, all I saw was movement.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that drew your eye. Okay, so Pat, this is the time I'm going to really ask you to slow everything right down for me.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so you notice this action that goes to your left and which draws your attention that direction. And now that your attention's that direction, is your head facing it kind of like I'm facing it?
Yep.
Okay. And then what happens with your head? Where's your eyes looking at, and what are you seeing, and what are you following with your eyes? Or do you just see it and then you look away because you kind of see that's kind of bizarre? What happens inside yourself there? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. I remember catching the movement, which is what drew my attention. And as soon as I turned my head and locked on to it, it immediately made that radical maneuver.
Okay, now this is the part I need to slow down. Okay, so you have to help us who are listening and watching at home. It immediately made this rapid, how did you word that again?
Radical
maneuver. Visually give us what that looks like. So is it like a hawk where all of a sudden it's going like this, or eagle and all of a sudden it folds itself in and then it kind of does a no?
Okay. It's so like it's like it was like this. And
Did it look
and
like it
then-
was?
Yeah,
Did it look like it
away.
was hit? Did it look like it was a natural flow for its wings? The way it was angled. What do you mean by
It
went-
did it. It didn't get hit. It made that. It was making it itself. But you could almost say it almost looked like it hit a brick wall. But there was no brick wall there. There was no nothing there for it
Okay,
to hit.
so it didn't. But did it go through the brick wall? Or did it drop and then adjust itself?
Yeah, so it folded up, and then so at this point it's still in the light, like the light shining from the neighbor's house. So I could see it really good, but it's contorted, so I can't tell exactly what I'm looking at, you know. And then it made that radical maneuver and got the fuck out of that light, which didn't take long. It didn't have to go move very far to get out into the shadow from that light. And then that's when I saw it flare out and glide right in front of me.
Did you hear any of the wind on the wings?
Mm-mm.
The light that was on the neighbor's house, was it like a large yard light on a pole, or was
It
it
was like a yard light, you know, probably about that big, attached to the house. That's pretty much standard for the houses in the U.S. They all have what we call floodlights.
right? Yeah.
So it was pretty bright, you know, and it shined out to the woods enough to start casting shadows out into the tree line. And this thing caught a part of it. It wasn't like it, you know what I mean? It wasn't like it caught a part of that light. So a floodlight sort of pans out a little bit too. It's got a little bit of a pan to it.
Right. So when you're sitting on the chair on the porch and you see this thing off to your left, and all of a sudden it looks like it's doing this wall smack thing, goes like this. Are you moving up in your chair now? Are you looking over towards where it is? Are you still sitting back? Are you leaning away from it? What are you doing? Do you recall?
All I know is that by the time it was in front of me, which wouldn't have been very much later, I was standing up. So I probably saw that weird maneuver and it got my attention. Like, I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, I wasn't expecting that, dude. I just saw a movement, you know, up in the air. I knew I saw movement in the air. And I saw that, you know, weird thing it did. Like, yeah, I probably started getting up out of my chair right there because I know I was standing up when I saw it glide in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when that same time you're standing up and as it flops over and it readjusts itself, do you recall where the wings opened, closed, opening?
The
It
wings
comes
were
to-
closed when it made that maneuver.
Right. After
And-
that, though, what do you call
And
that?
so it somehow it moved itself into shadow. So now I'm seeing it go from in the light to the shadow. And so that was an adjustment period. So it wasn't, so there was a little bit of visual depression that happened there, seeing it go from like direct light into shadow. But once it started coming in front of me like here, then I could see it, you know. My eyes were adjusted.
Slow down
Pretty good.
for me.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
Okay.
So when it comes down and you can see it right here, what is it you're looking at? I'm gonna help you with this a bit.
I don't know yet.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that there's something coming at you. It could be something flying, obviously. It could be a bird, an owl. It could be a hawk, eagle. You don't know what it is, but you know it's large and it's coming towards you. And then as it's flying, when do you get the first clear look, or somewhat clear, whatever clear look you got of it, if you did at all? When did you see that?
When it
that
comes
happened?
to about this position, and I could see wings. And then, of course, once it gets to its best profile in front of me, you know, again, I'm like this, so I could see the top of it fairly well. And that's when I went, oh shit, there's no feathers. There's no feathers.
And you didn't see a head either.
I couldn't make out the head.
Okay.
But it was, yeah. There
And
was
did
a
you-
head. There was a
And
head.
was the wings totally stretched out straight? You know, like straight like that.
Yep.
Were the feather tips or the end tips of it, did it look like they have fingers to them or anything like that?
No, not. But there was the shape was odd. It had that weird bat shape to it, almost like, or something like that. To me, it seems like in my mind's eyes, it didn't look like a bat. It seemed more smooth. I hate to say it. I mean, God, it's like it was smooth, but the wings just look funny, and there was like a ridge at the front, like a how do I describe it? Like a roll in the
Right.
you know what I mean? The front of the wings. Like I don't want to say like an airplane, not like an airplane, but just the difference between the back of the wing and the front of the wing was thicker. They had this thicker kind of roundness to it.
Okay, so you're suggesting that it's kind of like a pizza dough part, and then it gets smaller down to the back part.
Tapered, yeah, somewhat
Okay.
tapered. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not suggesting that it's a rounded part that looks flat right after there. It's similar to a bat
No.
wing.
It was
Okay.
it would be tapered like an airplane wing, but it wasn't an airplane wing,
Okay.
But that kind of tapering, yeah,
Okay.
which is aerodynamically correct.
Well, it is aerodynamically correct, and it's two different species, if you're saying that, because if it's a raptor style, it's going to have skin similar to a bat would have skin. It wouldn't have the thickness.
Yeah,
Flight birds have thickness in their wings.
yeah. Mhm.
The other question I had for you too is when you're looking at the kind of the width of the wing, how foot depth from that little ridge part to the back part.
Right, yeah. So that part of the wing from front to back is I don't know if it was a foot.
Give me a guess. Just
It was there was more surface area than a hawk.
okay.
And they could have been about as much surface area from front to back as a bald eagle.
Okay, a bald eagle's wing length is about 6.5 to 7 feet. A condor,
Oh, yeah.
California.
No,
Condor-
yeah. From in tip to tip. That's not.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were talking about.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Well, the reason
Okay.
I'm asking you is
Okay.
a California condo is about 9 feet
Mhm.
long.
Mhm.
So the longer the wing in those raptor style birds is also going to tell us the percentage of width it would have.
Mhm.
So if you're suggesting that it's smaller than a bald eagle, and that would mean its width is going to be smaller than a bald eagle. The other thing I'm kind of curious about is you're saying you didn't see its head.
I can't make out its head.
Okay, that's okay.
I was so focused on its damn wings and its back.
Right. Okay, that's good.
I was
That's
mesmerized it didn't have feathers.
good. That's where I want to go next.
Yeah.
So you're standing up now and you're fucking looking at this thing. It's
Yeah.
come over from this side here. Now it's over here. You're making out what it is. It's starting to fly right in front of you. So the ground's kind of undulated, I'm assuming, because that's why you can look down even though you're standing up on the deck. So you're probably, I'm not sure how high your deck was, but you're looking down on it and you don't see the head part, but you can certainly see the back. Can you see where the backbone is on it? What's the skin part you're noticing?
It just looked like skin to me.
What part of the body are you looking at when you see
From
the skin to me?
so what I had a real good look at was the top of the wings across its back. So from wing to wing across its, what you say its back, that skin and like some of that anatomy just didn't look right to me. It didn't. I wasn't looking at an owl. It just it just didn't look right, and I didn't see any feathers. I saw skin.
Okay, so was it the texture that didn't look right, or was it the shape as well, or what?
It was smooth. It was smooth.
Okay, so but is it the shape as well? Could you see the shoulder blades?
Yeah,
in
the
the
shape.
wing?
Yeah, the shape was weird to me.
And what do you mean by weird? What's that? Mean?
Like, I mean, I don't know. It might look just like if you pluck the feathers off a bird and stretch their wings out. Like,
Flying turkey monster.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what any of that's supposed to look like. I just know what a bird looks like flying around with, you know, with feathers concealing all its freaking anatomy.
Right.
You know.
So as you're sitting on standing up again, you're looking at this thing fucking fly in here. And as it's flying in, you see this kind of strangeness on its back. You're trying to process what the hell it is you're looking at. And as you follow it down, as it's going across, gliding in front of you, below you, you're looking at the back part. And I think you were suggesting that you didn't see a tail on it or anything.
I don't recall seeing a tail. I certainly didn't see, you know, the snaky point with the arrowhead at the end. Like, I didn't see any kind of tail like that or anything. Like, it's hard for me. I was so focused again on what I could see and what was mesmerizing me. And this happened as fast as it glided in front of me, right?
Right. So I want to back up.
So I don't remember seeing anything trailing behind it. Like, I couldn't tell you that detail. Yeah.
So when it came around, so here you are at the very beginning of the story, and you're sitting on the deck, and you're sitting on an old chair. The old table's next to you. You got your 70s ashtray. You're smoking the smoke, deep conversation. Something flashes over your left. Take a look at it. Kind of surprises you a bit. All of a sudden, it comes around, does this kind of thing against the wall. As soon as it looks like it's hit something against the wall. As soon as it does that, you stand up and you're looking at it going, what the hell's that? When it does this crunch like this, is this the shoulders of the bird? You know how a bird would go up like this? Is that what you're seeing here crunched up? Or what are you seeing crunched up? Did you recall?
Sort of. It happened so fast. I saw its wings. So I caught it in time where I locked eyes with it instead of it just being movement in my periphery.
Right.
I locked eyes with it enough to see it fold its wings up like that. Yes. Like fold it up into itself and sort of drop down into the shadow. Like, I don't know how birds, any bird can do weird radical maneuvers, man.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
totally.
So it was something like that, you know. But I did see it. I caught enough of that locking eyes with it to see it bring its wings in real fast.
Okay, you said locking eyes with it. Did you literally?
No. I mean, I'm sorry, not locking eyes with it. Okay. My bad. I locked onto it.
Okay.
So I could see it really good. Yeah.
And so when it did this maneuver and it locked itself up, was it about this angle? So it's moving. Oops, that direction.
It just went like that, dude. It did a dead stop in the air.
Okay.
And then started moving, like dead stop into movement. Like, that's why I keep using the word radical. Is the only word I know to describe it.
No, I think I understand what you're saying when you're saying that. So you didn't notice any legs or anything on it at that time.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So you're absorbed in the radical motion of what it's doing, and then you're processing what the hell that move is, and then it starts floating down in front of you. You fixate on the back part because something's different about the back where the wing area is. It doesn't have any feathers on it. It has some kind of a not a texture, but it has a skin style of. Is it like a scuba diving texture to it? Is it like an otter smooth texture to it? Is it like some kind of a saran wrap shimmer?
It looked like dark gray skin.
Dark gray skin. Okay, so I have dark gray skin because I'm 57. Not really. This kind of a skin, or smooth and shiny, like if I was getting a facelift. And look how young I look now.
It looked tougher.
Okay,
like God, not like a pig, but it looked tougher. It looked tough. It just looked tougher. Like more like a pig. I'm not saying it had pig skin.
Yeah. But you're
Oh,
saying it's not scaly, is what you're saying.
No, it wasn't.
And it-
No. I didn't notice like scales,
Right, yeah.
1 inch scales all over
Or a
it.
snake kind of a
No,
skin.
it definitely did. It didn't look like a snake skin. No.
Okay, so after it's kind of tapped into this, or after you're kind of tapped into looking at the skin, can you just start sharing the rest of the story right from what you experienced there?
You mean from what after I saw it, basically?
Well, just yeah, but I want you to slow down. So I want you to start off after the part you just shared with me. That's why I recapped the story a bit for you.
Mhm.
Is when it was coming down here, it was right in front of you. You were fixated on the back part of it. And then what happened after that fixational moment there, those few seconds as it was continuing? I'm assuming it's continuing to glide, right?
Yeah, it's continuing to glide. I stay fixated on it. And now at this point, once it gets to like sort of here, so it's past my in front of, I can see the movement of it, and I start seeing more of a shadow of it. And then this tree line is right here where it's about to be in this tree line, like physically, right? And that part was real shadowy. So that tree line that was over here, it was only about 4 trees deep, maybe 20 trees, and some vegetation. Not super thick, but not super thin. And that's where I lost it, was in the shadow of that. So for whatever reason, the optics, the visualness and the optics of what was going on there with the lighting, where I could see it, but once this area is darker, and so I just lost it in that shadow. And I tried to see if I could, did it perch on something? Did it keep going? Can I catch it and still flying in the neighbor's backyard? And so I kept looking, and that was it. That was the last time I saw it. When I lost it in the shadow of that tree line that it was pretty much about to hit, and I never saw it after that.
Did you ever hear it flap its wings?
No.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
I
it
had
glided
zero
all the way
audio,
from
zero audio recall of anything.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it basically glided from the left all the way to the right. Or
I'm
right
pretty
to the
sure I
left.
was listening to music at the time. I can't be 100% positive, but number one, I should have been, because that's what I did, at that time. And I seem to recall flipping those things off my head real fast, flipping the earphones off. So they wouldn't have been earbuds. They didn't exist back then. Okay. They would have been headphones on my Discman, my little CD player.
Yeah, Sony Discman. Yeah,
Right.
You're aging yourself for sure.
And so, yeah, I would have flipped those things off. I seem to have a memory of doing that, but I can't be 100% about it. Honestly, Leon, I not 100% on that.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. So this all happens and you check next door, you don't see it anymore. What do you recall doing after that?
So I'm looking for it. I want to see it. I want to see this thing better. It has my attention.
Okay, so Leon,
Right.
what I do is I look for it. So I get off the deck and I walk across the grass
Nope,
and I look.
I didn't do that.
That's what I want to know.
I didn't do that. I was looking. I'm like, and then all of a sudden, like maybe after 5 to 10 seconds of looking to see if I could see it again, I instantly went, fuck this, I'm out of here. I was immediate fear of what was going on, because I can't see it anymore. And I don't know what this thing is. And now I can't see it. I ran inside, I locked the door. Like with urgency, Leon, and I said this earlier, I'll say it again. I ran inside, I closed that door and locked it as if somebody, was running through my backyard or something. Like there was a sense of urgency to lock the door. And I was frightened. And I had no idea what I just saw. And I don't even know how I played it off from there, man. That night. I didn't go back outside. I didn't go back outside.
So you were the only one in the house after the event. Okay, nobody showed up after that. Okay.
Nope, just me. You're muted, bud. I don't think I did it.
No, I did it accidentally.
Okay.
Mike. So do you remember that? How fearful you felt there? You remember
was
getting
scared.
up there? Yeah. How
I was scared.
you were? Do you feel it today?
I mean, not really, because
I mean, can you tap into it? Not saying that you have it, it's PTSD or anything like that. But.
Yes, I remember how scared I was.
Okay. Do you ever remember feeling that level of fear before in your life, with any experience before then or after?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've had that level of fear in me for whatever event was happening in front of me that I needed to be fearful of. Yeah, sure.
When's the earliest you believe you experienced that fear, and when's the last time you've experienced that fear level?
Oh God! Wow, dude.
Is it similar to your Sasquatch fear level?
That's a tough one.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'd say, I mean, it was different than that, and the reason why it was different is because of the factor that I do remember this, Leon. Once I got inside and began to process it, my first process was this: what the fuck is this thing doing in my neighborhood? It doesn't belong here. That was my first process. I know that. So I was at my home I grew up in. I wasn't out camping in the woods, where we run into those monkey men dudes, that like to bang on trees. I think there's some kind of acceptance that goes along with me being out in the woods and running into them and their territory. This felt like, it didn't feel like an attack. It just felt like a weird violation of my freaking safe space in the modern world, dude. What's this weird thing doing in the modern world? And at the time, dude, I wasn't into Sasquatch really that much.
No, that's okay. I'm just checking your brain for your timeline because it has files in it.
Yeah,
and sure. The question I posed to you is, do you ever recall feeling that level of fear before? You said yes. And the next question for you is, can you tell me a time when you first felt that level of similarity, fear, familiar fear?
When I was a little kid and would it have a very unsure or sort of dangerous feeling about a dog.
Roughly age?
Like a little kid, like 7 years old, maybe.
Okay.
8, like a kid that's not capable of defending themselves against a dog.
Right. Did you ever have any experiences like that with as a little kid with the bugs?
With the what?
With bugs, spiders or dragonflies trapping you in the bathroom. Just wondering. I did.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't really afraid of bugs when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that same level of fear that you felt there after the event, do you remember having it after the event?
You mean about the event or something else?
No. So the event is the middle part of the screen right here.
Mm.
The first one you told me about is over on your side. It's when I was roughly 6 to 7 years old. So the event now, after that, we're just looking at the emotional priming of the file folder of fear that you have in your system. So everything builds on what comes before. So part of the building block for your body to understand what fear is, it would have went to 6 years old. That would have been the first one, or one of the first ones. And now I want to know the last time you felt that same level of fear. Probably as an adult, you would have had an encounter of that.
Not really. Like,
well, that's a bonus for you at your age.
Or I mean, at least that kind of fear. I mean, there's different kinds of fear,
Right. Wait. Well, that's the point. The point is, I don't think you can put a name on that fear. I don't think you know what that type of fear is. What kind of fear is it? That kind of fear, Leon. Well, what the hell is the kind of fear you're saying?
The kind of fear that make you run in your house and lock the door.
Okay.
That kind of fear.
Okay. So you have flight available. I also noticed in your other stories that you shared your fight or flight switches are not on all the way. usually go to freeze.
If I get hyper focused, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, and that's the other thing I
Yeah.
wrote down here too. Is you used hyper focus. That was on your other story. You said I was
Mhm.
hyper focused on this thing, and then you said you called Kim over to it. So you're telling me a whole bunch of data that your brain uses when you're in
Right.
unfamiliar territory. So I'm blueprinting that out with this story and the other story and the other stories you mentioned about your experience with Sasquatch and where your brain goes. That's why I gave you that exercise to try out.
Yeah, sure.
Because you can train your brain to not go that way and stay objective in the positioning instead of peaked. Just out of curiosity, Pat, when you were seeing this, was your thinking and your feelings and your emotions also heightened? Were you, what was the word you used in the other one? I was hyper vigilant, or were you peaked, or what were you inside of your system, inside of your skin?
I don't know. It happened so quick. I was reacting. I was trying to observe the best way I knew how.
No, that's a cool
Yeah.
exercise for you for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to see what the hell this thing was. It didn't make sense to me immediately right off the bat.
Anybody else ever you have any folklore stories of that around your area, or anyone else?
No. Mm-mm.
And did were you ever interested in those shows, where they talk about cryptozoology stuff and like that?
No. Mm-mm. Not particularly.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, the good thing is at the beginning of your story, you didn't say it was one of those. You said it looked like an eagle or it looked like a hawk. It wasn't an owl. You kept describing fowl. You didn't describe pterodactyl. You didn't describe lizard people. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
No,
Well,
like
that's all
I
I
said,
have. Thanks.
like I said before, if it were, let's just say a pterosaur, you can't miss the shape of that head, that pointy freaking, it wasn't a crane either. Like you
Right.
can't miss. Like again, or a crane, like a blue heron. Like I see blue heron all the time at the lake here, and I'd seen blue heron before this event happened, and I was like, wow, that's an amazing bird. It looks like a pterodactyl, but this was no blue heron. You can't miss that neck and that freaking beak and all that, And they don't fly around at night. Well, they do fly around at night sometimes, but it wasn't a blue heron. It was smaller. It was smaller.
Okay. So that's 67.
Uh-oh.
The suspicion is when I hear what you've seen and you're looking at it and you're already processing very deep things on the deck. I mean, what comes to my mind, I'm not saying this is an owl, which would explain a couple of things. Not saying it was an owl that you said, seen. That's one reason why you wouldn't have seen the head, because it wouldn't flat. It wouldn't have an extension head.
It might have been an owl.
The weird part of it too is the lack of tail. You didn't notice any tail and stuff. It's amazing you went right to the wings, so that's kind of fascinating. So there's definitely something about the wings, because if you look at an eagle or a condor, they have white with inside of their wings. You would have seen flashes of white with the light behind them.
Mhm.
And so it's not those two, even though they have the bigger wingspan. Could be an owl. Steve was on here right now. I'd get him to be doing some research behind the scenes and sending me some pictures of. I'm just trying to think of any owls that I would know, because sometimes you get a weird species that's not normal for your area one day show up in your area.
Maybe. Could be.
Because I've had that happen a couple of times here where we had some stuff showing up. What the hell is that? I've never seen that here. And it was lost or something. It was supposed to be migrating and it's from some other part of the world. But yeah. Well, all I can say is from what you're telling me, you did have an experience of something of the unknown that you don't know what it is. And I think you're pretty fair about the whole thing. I think what's more fascinating is you taught me a bit about how your processing works inside of yourself. To me, that's more important. Because it'll help you with your research. So,
Okay, well then, good. I'm glad we've got that data point.
Yeah,
that
well, totally.
I will listen to your your interpretation of that data. Obviously.
Yeah, well, I've given it to you a bit in the past already. So, and I think the thing with Patrick too, like if it was, say, it was a longer event, it was in the day, and it was a bit, it had a bit more context to work with as far as data. That's what I mean by context. Like with Patrick, when I did it with him, it was 3 hours we talked. And most of it, the funny thing was after that 3 hours, I think we really got into, after he shared the story a few times online, that's the 20-minute mark usually.
Yeah, right.
Even though he's online for 2 hours talking about his event, and that's what you want to do. You want to slow the witness down, and you want to use memory stuff. So you talk about, like Patrick did have a good point there, is what type of music were you listening to that night, if you recall? You want to hit on all those little markers, those interesting markers of what they're saying, especially when they say, I don't know what that is, or it was this. If they say this or whatever word they're using, and it's not a specific word, you always try to get the person to stop there and let them elaborate, because a lot of times you'll find subconsciously that information will pop into a person's mouth. This is a technique that I use with the emotional timelines with people from 0 to 5 years old, 6 years old to 10 years old to 11 years old to 15 years old, from 16 years old to 20. And they'll fill out that whole board with memories. But as they see it, because your brain doesn't collect data the same way we think it would, like on a nice straight line historically, it just collects all the data. And so you have it all in your brain. It's really hard to negotiate it, but when you can kind of see it out of yourself, especially on a board, you'll start noticing, wait a second, that can't be right. Like I remember once I was watching, I got in trouble at school when the man landed on the moon. And I remember getting in trouble at school because man landed on the moon, and I was too busy watching it happen on TV, and I was late for school. Now that's my memory.
Right.
The problem was man landed on the moon on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I wasn't at school. So what was happening there? Well, what was happening there, at least in Canada, was the schools opened up their gymnasiums so people could go watch the landing on the moon. But,
right.
And everyone in my family was out at the school, and I got in trouble, not because I was late for school. I got in trouble because I stayed home and watched it on TV, because the TV was on when it was happening and everyone left and I was still at home. And I thought, oh, this is cool. And and you can see how your brains, like my brain came up with one story, but the reality was none of that was the facts for the whole thing. So by helping you kind of remember what it was like sitting on the other thing I would have tapped into was it nighttime? Was it summertime? Which I said, was there any sounds of bugs in the air? Was there any smells that you smelled? Do you smell dew anywhere? You're trying to activate, when you're doing a witness's interview, all of his different senses, because again, that'll help him kind of zone in on it. And you try to really be cautious not to lead the person into ideas where they start going, it looked like that. You always give them multiple options. Right. Mm-hmm. And you ask them fairly quick questions, 3 quick questions, and then you ask their question you want to ask them on the 4th question.
Right.
So it'd be like, so you said that you saw this, and you said it was a wingspan like that, and da-da-da-da-da. And the next question is, did you really see what you said you seen? Or I did this at work the other day. I said to everybody, everyone's got a support group you're going to, put up your hands. Everyone puts their hands up. Okay, thanks. Do you go there once a week? Yeah. Put up your hand. If you go there 2, yeah. Anyway, everyone here is a counselor. Yeah. You see them once a week, once every 2 weeks, put up your hand. Yeah, yeah. Everybody have a anonymous meeting you go to? Yeah, put up your hands. Everyone puts up their hands. I said, anyone used this week? Hands go up. I said, appreciate your honesty.
or you're just training them to put their hands up.
We're playing some pretty funny tricks on the new guys at show. We got everybody standing up and sitting down every time I go like this.
The Simon Says. Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Oops.
Yeah. Well,
anyways, where's Patrick in the voice?
I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate the rigor, because, at the end of the day, Leon, I can never recreate that situation and study it better. I can't do it. It's all in my head, no one else's. And the key part is when you're analyzing your own evidence, it's the same technique. You've got to slow it down, because you notice it's called rock skipping. When you first shared your story, as I watched it online, it's like taking a flat rock and skipping it across the lake. Right. There's all this other data between the skips. And so if you can slow that all down as you're processing your evidence, and you're not bringing because your system's going to be hijacked for sure. And
if you can slow that process down, it just helps you gather correct interpretation of the data, or a better chance of correctly interpreting the data that you've observed or experienced. So,
Yeah, I mean, all I can say to this day is that it was weird. Like, I know I saw something that night that freaked me out, and if it was an owl, then there's something else going on there.
yeah,
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who was the first person you told after the story, after the event?
Man, I don't remember. I don't remember. I kept that one to myself for a long time, dude, and maybe told Ernie at some point. Probably Ernie was my buddy. Ernie, man, was probably the first person I ever like. Look, dude, I'm gonna tell you something. Like, I don't know what this was, but I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. You know.
Did you ever talk to Jason about it?
I did.
And what did
That's-
he have to say about it?
Well, he was interested. Like, that was the only time I've ever told that story on air, was on Anything Goes. And that was back in the day when it was Anything Goes, and Daniela would she'd actually published the link to get in the show, and Jason was talking about his daytime sighting of something that he describes as like a pterosaur, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, it's time. I've got to get this off my chest. So I jumped into that show and I was like, Jason, look. And I told him that exact same story as best as I could in that time frame I had there. And he was really interested in it. He was asking me about, where it was at, and he came up with this theory. He was like, correlation between, even though he's in Texas and I'm in Georgia, we have this interstate we share called I-20,
Right.
which runs that span. And he was like, there's a lot of sightings around I-20, and he made it about that in a way. And I was kind of like, whoa, really? Like, I didn't know that. So anyway, that's where I told my story on air. But yeah, until tonight.
Well, you're outed now. Kim suggests that it could be, she says as an option would be short ear owl, because they can maneuver an angle the way you're talking about.
Yeah.
So they have a white feathering coloration to their feathers too.
Yeah, I mean,
smooth back though.
Yeah, I mean, again, I fully admit that birds can do very radical maneuvers in the air. So that in and of itself wasn't the icing on the cherry on top, dude. It was when I got to see it, and I'm like, there's no feathers. Like, that was the part that blew my mind, And
Thanks, mister.
And maybe there were feathers, and maybe there weren't. I'll never know.
Well, it's pretty quick time too, right? It's like that slow can. You're doing
happened.
100 kilometers down the road. You're seeing on the side of your road. You can't even count to 5 seconds. And so when that's all happening, the shadows here, I'm looking at it. If your system gets peaked, it seems a little bit longer than the actual time it is.
Yeah.
And it's already done the fold. It's already coming across. It's already going like this. How wide's your yard?
It's like, 40 feet.
Okay,
Something like
40
that.
feet.
Yeah.
That's seconds, man. That's like a microseconds. So your brain's trying to process it. It's got a lag with the visuals too on top of it.
Sure.
So as you're visually going through that, all I know is, according to what you shared with me when I got down here, you experienced something that obviously bothered you. Doesn't tell us what it was, of course, because it didn't fly into the wall in the neighbor's yard, which you said, "Hey, Leon, this is it right here,"
And yeah, at the end of the day, I cannot conclusively say what it was.
Yeah,
it's just how I interpreted it at the time. Even though I made a sensational thumbnail, but that's what I do. I want people to watch the show.
Clickbait.
It's not clickbait.
It's big clickbait. It is.
No.
I don't know how you associate it with a gargoyle either. Gargoyle's got this huge neck that comes out with this huge monstrous head on it. Like,
it's something about
have a head.
It's something, it's something about their skinless wings, man. Like, that's what it looked like to me. That's just what the nomenclature that popped into my head.
Right.
You
And
know?
so the confusion part about that is skinned wings are thin.
Right.
Any animal we know with skinned wings, it's thin. So that was thick. All fowl that fly with wings like that are thick. That's meat and potatoes, not just skin. So veins in it. So another mystery. Woo! Let's make a new religion out of it.
Let's do that. That sounds like a great idea. The great beetle flying bug of the sky.
I think it has something to do with the flying spaghetti monster. Personally, is my theory. Is that it's a parasite from the flying spaghetti monster.
Well, have you seen those new videos going around of the fairies flying around people's backyards?
No.
They look really good. They look like
Really?
fairies. They do. They really look like fairies flying around the backyard. They're on usually those Bing camera phones or doorbells.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been circulating a lot. And Phil from Paranormal Breakdown, he did a breakdown on. I had somebody send me one. He says, I got this on my camera last night. And if I wouldn't have saw Phil's video, it looked really good. I thought it was one of those kids fairies that you put a little battery in it and you turn it on and it spins around and flies up. Mm-hmm. And so that's what they look like. It's nighttime, obviously, all the time. And instead of looking like those string insects, that moths that are flying really fast and they're string, interpreted as string monsters.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, these ones
they're called. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah, so these are like skeeter hawks is what we call them in Canada. They have really long wings, long legs, and so the long legs fall down. And the wings flap like they look like it looks like fairies for sure. I can see how people would see it.
Yes, when you capture it on that camera in that lighting,
that's right.
It's fairy. If cameras were capturing fairies flying around, you'd see them yourself all the time. Yeah.
Well, if you circle them with red, it would help.
Yes. But I can't do that. I don't have the technology yet.
Yeah, we're not like Steve.
We're not like Steve. He's
too high tech for us.
He's like Star Trek, dude.
Yeah. Rods. Yes, that's it, Patrick. Rods.
Rods. Yes, I was going to say something else. I'm glad I didn't.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me do that, Pat.
Well, thank you. Thanks for doing it. I appreciate it, and I'm always willing to participate in that kind of experiment or study or rigor, if you will.
Yeah, you've been under a heavier one than that one we went after you for, and you did very well at that one. That was
thank you.
Honorable of you. So you adjusted your position, even though it was humiliating. But that's good, man. You got to get used to. You will be humiliated. That is normal. You will live. You will move on.
Yes, I agree, dude.
And everyone at home, you need to hear that. The idea of someone challenging you. It's not that they don't care about you. They just wanted you to know the facts. So.
I'm not afraid of being humiliated. You know, it can suck at different levels. Like there's different levels of suck.
Like last time we were online.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That was
exactly.
Like, oh!
But the consequences. That was all about the consequences, dude.
Totally. Yeah.
And like I don't want to get too deep into that. Like the less people that know about that, the better. You know.
Yeah. But that's why you don't want to give that any credence because that's what that is hoping it's going to happen. Right?
It broke my heart today, or it stressed me out a little bit once I finally fixed it, you know, and was able to publish it. I saw that it was still private and had 322 views, and I'm like, oh no! I was like, oh no, because I screwed it up that night. I thought I had made it private, and I didn't.
Yes, yeah, that's why I messaged you.
And now a lot of people don't know what we're talking about. Some do.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna do a little prank tonight about it, but I thought no, I won't. It's too close.
It's just it's an inside joke. And that's I think that's where we'll leave it, dude, because the less YouTube knows about it, the better.
Yeah. It goes with the name that shall never be mentioned, the video that will never be spoken of.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And the other thing too.
Mhm.
All these code words we have to have now online so people don't get offended. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks for having me on. Hopefully that was helpful. So remember, everybody, when you're helping somebody, get them to slow it down. If they'll go really quick when they share their event and their experience. Help them to slow it down. Get them do practice going. Wait. Slow her down.
Yeah. You're right, dude. And which is why I wanted to tell the story just like on my own nature, because Patrick, earlier was like, he's like, oh man, I want to, you should get Leon. And I was like, no, I want to tell the story first, and then Leon could come in and do his thing. That's fine, Yeah.
Well, and it gave me a chance to see your baseline that way too, and that's why I needed to see it without your glasses on too. And again, everybody, go back and watch the video. Put little 2 lines on a piece of paper. Do about 20 of them, and then every time I ask him a question, put dots on where you see his eyes go. So the slits on the lines, above the line, on the line, or below the line. Top, bottom, center, top left, top bottom, top right, top bottom.
Oh, wow.
Straight on, top up, down. And watch his blink rate. His blink rate was consistent through everything. Oh, there's a couple of times you'll notice he owned it too, where his blink rate, he didn't have a blink rate because he owned what he was saying. When I asked him, what pisses you off the most? He leaned forward, direct eye contact, this. And then he went back, reloaded, came back, and this. And
Wow,
why those things? Lean forward again, and he said, because of this, this, and this. Or however you worded that. I can't remember. It was an hour ago. So, but that's all you want to do. We're not looking for a person to lie, but it'll tell you whether or not the person's owning what they're sharing with you. And it could be wrong. Of course, it could be misidentification, which a lot of these things are. Or it can be a misrepresentation, or it can be a lie, or it's something they did see. So we don't know what he saw, but I can tell that he does believe, as he shares, there was something that he saw that made him confused. So that's the safe political way of saying that.
Yep.
I wanted to say something else, but I won't. Not about you, but
can you slow yourself down, or does it help to have somebody there who's walking you through that?
No, you should do it. It should be somebody who practices it a bit, because you're in your head processing. Again, you got those 3 brains, and they're processing the event, and you're getting a lot of data. Like sometimes I mentioned to you guys when you're interviewing me, you have to slow me down because my brain's thinking on 5 different levels as I'm talking.
Right.
And the problem is I think I've ended a sentence or an idea and I've already moved on to the next one. I did it in my mind, in my head, but I didn't out of my mouth. So sometimes people didn't follow my full thought process.
Yeah, I do that too.
So I need to just slow myself down, and it's a way of meditating as well. So it helps you kind of.
Yeah, it was weird to tell that story live on air by myself, So like whenever you're live without a net, basically it's a different ball game, and I didn't want to rush through it, but I ended up telling those two stories. Took an hour almost, so
yeah, it was good. Well, that was good.
Thanks.
Worked fine for me.
Well, thanks, man. It was a good episode. It was a little different.
Yep.
And yeah, man. I guess I'll just wrap it up, man. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. I appreciated Robert coming on last week. That was kind of the first hot seat person we dealt with and stuff. Jay was pretty direct with them, which I appreciated.
Is that Robert Walker?
Right.
Is that who came on to like talk about his stuff that I missed? I'm sorry, guys. I completely missed all that.
No, I knew why.
Yeah, and
you and I both knew why on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping in, Robert. We'll do that again. I'll do another open mic.
With a new rule.
Gotta be a little more vigilant. And then we met JC and the real JC and the deep irony that is there with that. Oh my God. That's funny.
That was funny.
Yeah. I'm on Messenger messaging Nikki. I'm like, ban JC in chat right now. Ban them. And yeah. So anyway, Yeah, we should have JC on. I did.
100%.
Yeah, I reached out to her, and she hadn't got back to me. So if you guys could, move that along for me, that'd be great.
Well, it would be neat to get her and that guy Brent was talking about to have people who are new.
Yeah,
and she's academic, and just
Right,
let
yeah.
people at home hear how frustrating it is for people
Mhm.
who are new coming on site because of the
Yeah, I
lack of
agree.
what we're doing in regards to investigating
No,
skills. So
that would
not
be
as
a-
criticism, but just as education to help us up our game. So
that would be a fantastic show, dude.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So if we can put that together for this week, that'd be great. If not, we'll push it off to when it works out for everyone. But we'll try. Let's all try for that because I would love to do that show this Friday.
Yep.
Okay,
buddy, I gotta go do some cowboy stuff out here with the horses. So
Yeah,
I gotta
good.
get
Take
going.
care of your horses, man. Wow.
Okay. Have a good
Oh,
night,
man.
everybody in chat.
Yeah, man.
That was
I'm
interesting.
gonna wrap it up. You gonna stick around for that, or you? Just
Well,
gonna-
if you're wrapping it up pretty quick, yeah. But if not, I'll buzz off now.
yeah, just go off now.
Bye. Don't
You
talk
think-
about me behind my back. Actually, do that. That'll be fun. I'll be watching.
You'll be walking. I'm going to talk about Patrick Vaughn behind his back. Thanks for watching, guys. Interesting, fun show tonight. A little different. I got to get some things off my chest, which is, I don't know. That's important to me every now and then. Related to this topic. And I appreciate Leon coming on and, really like doing his thing because I'm not afraid to participate in his thing. Obviously, dude, I went right. He said, take the glasses off. Sure. I'm okay. Whatever you want to hear from me, dude, ask me questions. Questions are allowed, especially if we're trying to get to the bottom of anything. It's all fair stuff. So I'm gonna end the show now, man. I'm gonna try and pull my end tag up for the show. We'll see if it works. I don't know if it worked right at the beginning of the show, but this is gonna how I'm gonna end all my shows now. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow to where I want it to grow, man. I'm not trying to have 100,000 subscribers. If I were, I'd be playing freaking video games right now, streaming that. This is Squatch Talk, and it's a way different kind of show in the Sasquatch world. So I know the channel's not going to explode in some big thing, but I would like to reach 1,000 subscribers because that opens up doors for me. It gives me more tools to use on YouTube. It gives me, just options. So that's my goal is 1,000 subs. That's it. So like and subscribe. That helps the algorithms, and it helps just promote the channel to people who should be here, like people who would be attracted and not know about the channel otherwise. So if you guys could do that for me, I appreciate it. But I appreciate every single one of you being here tonight in chat, engaging, asking questions, talking amongst yourselves like chat does sometimes. A special shout out to my buds, Jesse and Justin. Thanks for being here and making your presence known. And that's it. Because now I got hiccups, so I gotta go.
Let's assume that you've got to this point in the video and you don't agree with me at all. Fine, but I guarantee that this video has been beneficial to you. It will, at the very least, have allowed you to compare your own argument to mine, thus giving you an understanding of the opposite view of the argument. And, assuming you're being honest with yourself and actually paid attention, it will have strengthened your own line of reasoning in preparation for an intellectually honest counter-argument. Therefore, even if you don't agree with me at all, this video will still have been useful to you, even if it only confirmed what you previously knew. If I get defeated here, if someone comes along with a very good counter argument that defeats mine properly, then great, we've all learned. And if I'm right, great, we've all learned again. But if we don't have the debate because it's artificially shut down, or people complain so much that it persuades people not to take me seriously, we can't learn. We can't find the truth. So we will live in ignorance of the truth. It is therefore in all our best interests to have a debate about this subject. But if the academics or corporations like YouTube or the central state are not allowing the debate, or somehow find a way to call this offensive and take it down, then we won't learn, and we will have a valueless interpretation of